Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news after a very good result last night, which we'll talk about a little bit later on because we've got 3 or 4 big stories to discuss this morning. We will be talking about the latest on Alvarez from Argentina. Ralf Rangnick, the Manchester United manager, actually talking about January transfers. A little bit concerning in that. We'll talk about that as well. Cavani doing a bit of a lap of honour. Was he saying goodbye last night? We'll talk about that as well. But we're going to start off with the main story. Donny van de Beek, is he leaving? Does he want out of Manchester United? I said after my match reaction last night that I was going to make a couple of calls. I've only actually got to speak to one contact. They're quite good. I will say straight away, they're not giving it out 100% he's leaving. I think from the conversation I've had with them this morning, I think there's an exclusive coming from them at some point. I might be miles off of that, but I think there's an exclusive coming from them. But what I did get told basically conveys the situation with Donny van de Beek as to where we are now. Now, the first thing I was told is what we've heard on this show from other journalists over the last 6 months, is that Donny van de Beek wanted to leave Manchester United at the end of the transfer window in the summer. He was nearly going to go to Everton. He wants to play football. He wants to be part of the Dutch squad. He wants to play in the World Cup and he wants to sort his career out. His career has been on hold for 2 years. And what I'm very eager to do this morning is put it out there that Donny van de Beek wanting to leave Manchester United is not being a traitor to Manchester United. It's a player who's been here for nearly 2 years who is not being used. In fact, Ralf Rangnick has played 4 Premier League games, 360 minutes. Donny van de Beek has played 6 minutes in 4 Premier League games. And Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes were unavailable last night. So, you know, you don't need a weatherman to tell you it's pissing down. And Donny van de Beek doesn't need, Ralf Rangnick to tell him that his future at Manchester United is bleak. Why that is, we'll talk about in a moment. But Donny van de Beek, will Manchester United allow him to leave? What is the situation? Now, what I was told this morning is Donny van de Beek wants out of this situation. And this situation, and that's about as blunt as they would be. He wants out of this situation. The situation is him sat on the bench for Manchester United and not in the Dutch squad. He wants out of that situation. Now, does Ralf Rangnick come in and change that situation? Well, a month ago, it seemed like it would, because Donny van de Beek is a Ralf Rangnick type of player. He's energetic, he passes forward, he fits the Ralf Rangnick style of football. The problem is, as we saw last night, United are not playing the Ralf Rangnick style of football because our players aren't intelligent enough to do it yet. Whether there's a future for Donny or not is debatable, but he can't afford to miss January, because if he stays to United till the summer and doesn't play much, he ain't going to the World Cup. So he's got a big decision to make, Donny van de Beek, and there are some rumours as to why he didn't play yesterday. Ultimately, he didn't play yesterday because he didn't fit the system. He's not a winger like Sancho or Greenwood. He's not a striker like Ronaldo or Cavani, and he's not a holding midfielder like Matic and Rangnick likes McTominay, who played very well last night. So, yes, there was no Bruno. Yes, there was no Pogba. But Donny wasn't picked and wasn't wanted within that team yesterday. Neither was Fred. So, you know, Donny's in company of a player that has been playing a lot, but he's not been playing. Now, why does Donny van de Beek want out of this situation? Now, what I was told this morning is, and as we already know, is that there are cliques within Manchester United. And I think what some fans have done wrongly is they've thought, Ralf Rangnick's here, he's a Donny van de Beek type of manager, Donny's going to want to stay at United. But what I was told this morning is, and it was a hypothetical, was if you're at a football club where you've not been made part of the club, and what they clarified was Manchester United have got cliques. You come into that football club, there are cliques that you have to integrate with, and Donny van de Beek is not part of certain cliques. They like him. He's a valued member of the squad, but he's not a powerful member of the team. And Manchester United have cliques that when you come into that club, you either integrate into those cliques and be part of that clique, or you're on the outside, and Donny van de Beek's on the outside. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo comes in, and it doesn't, look, imagine, this is a hypothetical, the clique of the British players. You know, the Harry Maguires, the Marcus Rashfords, the Luke Shaws, the Scott McTominays. And I'm not saying that exists. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But if that exists, that's a very, very powerful clique. Harry Maguire's the captain, Marcus Rashford's the star of the team. McTominay's a first teamer, Luke Shaw is a first teamer. Very strong clique. Now, if you're Donny van de Beek and you don't integrate into that clique, then you're not very powerful, are you? If you're Cristiano Ronaldo, you come in and they go, "Do you want to be in our gang?" And he goes, "No, I don't. What medals have you won? I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. I think I'll create my own clique, thank you. I'm one of the world's greatest players." Donny van de Beek can't do that. When he came to Manchester United, he has to integrate himself into that team. And he doesn't actually have that sort of personality. He's not forthright, and, you know, he gets lost in the crowd a little bit as a personality. What I was told this morning is that Donny van der Beek, a new manager might come in, but that doesn't change the dynamic of the dressing room, and it doesn't change the fact that he's a bit of an outsider. Not that he's disliked. He's not disliked. He is liked, but he's not a big personality. He's not a leader of the clique, and therefore he sometimes gets a little bit lost in the squad. Donny van der Beek needs a change, and the reality is, has Ralf Rangnick and is Ralf Rangnick going to change the way Manchester United's dressing room and squad operates in relation to the cliques that it's got? And the fact is, probably not. Donny van der Beek needs a change. He needs a change of situation, and he needs probably a change of club. And the fact is, the big rumour, I think, and I don't have this from this person this morning, I think Donny van der Beek has realised he needs a change. Because nothing's going to change. Certain players are going to get picked ahead of him. When Bruno's back from suspension, he will get picked. Pogba will get picked ahead of him. He is not getting game time, and it's probably because he's almost become, you know, in your cupboard, go and check your cupboards later, there'll be a jar of something or a can of something that you've kept there because you think you'll eat it at some point, but whenever you open your cupboard, you look at it, you see it, but you don't pick it. And I think that's a little bit like what's happened with Donny van der Beek. He is valued, but not valued enough to take people's places. You know, when the going gets tough, they go for different players, and he is not integrated into that team. You know, if you think about David De Gea, there's always been the David De Gea clique of, you know, it used to be Mata, Herrera, Darmian. You can imagine what it is now. You know, you've got the Telles, Bruno, Ronaldo sort of clique there, and then you've got the British players clique of players as well. Where does Donny van der Beek fit into that? He's liked, but he's not a personality in and around that team that is influential, and therefore all he can do is work hard and hope he gets noticed, and it doesn't work. So Donny van der Beek wants to leave Manchester United in the situation that he is in. That's not changed for the whole of the season. He wanted to go on the last day of the season. The agent was working. Now, I did get this. The agent of Donny van der Beek has been working on an exit from Manchester United since last August, all the way up until December, when Ollie, well, all the way up until November when Ollie was sacked. Now, do you think that agent suddenly stopped working on deals just because Ollie got sacked? And that's going to be the interesting thing, because I think where we are now is Donny van der Beek wants out of this situation. It's not good for him. He wants to play in the World Cup. He's not being picked. He's been snubbed. He's played 6 minutes in 360 under a new manager. It's not looking good for him. Bayern Munich are interested in him. A few other clubs are interested in him. The World Cup's in a year's time. He's got no time to waste. The big question is, and it says it on the thumbnail, Donny leaving ? Because I think he would love to go to Bayern Munich. He would love to go to 3 or 4 other clubs who will value him and play him. It's whether United will let him go. And that is going to be the problem. I don't think the Prem suits Donny, Spain or Italy, says Robert McCormack. Donny's reason for leaving may be the same as Martial, says Marcus. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And Julian says, remember when there were reports about Maguire wanting an English centre-back to partner him? No surprise who the culprit here is. Worst captain ever, get him out, says Julian. Very interesting. I wasn't going to talk about Maguire, but just why it's in my head. Ralf Rangnick coming out after the game yesterday and blaming out Eric Bailly. Eric Bailly should have cleared that ball, but that was on the halfway line virtually. Aaron Lennon runs 30 yards. Harry Maguire gives him a free pass to goal. For some reason, Harry Maguire is immune to criticism. It's almost as if Ralf Rangnick's been told you can't criticise him. Nobody ever criticises him. It's a bad situation. He wears the captain's armband, and that football club is riddled with mediocrity. And as I said there, you know, if you're Donny van der Beek and you come into that football club and you've got a clique of players that is the British players, and I'm not saying that exists, but it is, and they're like, you need to be part of our gang and do what we say if you want to be part of this dressing room. What have you won? What have you won? And I think Ronaldo's come in and done that. He's gone, look, I'll get on with everybody here, but I ain't falling into little groups. Like, what's your group then? How many trophies have you won? And that's a problem at United. A culture that's been developed by the previous manager over the last 3 years of failure. And they've got very vocal voices and they seem to be above criticism, and they're not winners. But they did win last night, let's give it that. This is demonstrable example of Harry's failure as a captain, says Michael, and send Donny to Newcastle, he'll get plenty of game time there. I think it's going to be very interesting with Donny to see if actually he can get his move or not. But I think that ultimately very disappointing for him. The only thing I would say, and look, I think a lot of people will say this, well, it's 2 managers now and he's not starting games for United. And I can't argue with that. I cannot argue with that. It is another manager who's come in and arguably treated him worse than Ollie, or probably the same. He's hardly played any Premier League minutes. I mean, I dread to think if anyone's got the stats as to how many Premier League minutes we've played this year and how many minutes Donny's played. It's ridiculous. He's played no minutes in 2 games when we've played 2 games in a week. Scott McTominay wasn't expected to play last night. You know, it's coming out yesterday that he wasn't expected to play. He was injured, and he's played with an injury. And look, very, very good performance from him. But still, Donny was not even considered, was he? So it probably would have been Fred. So there's a massive issue there. Now, some people want to say it's because he's had COVID. Some people want to say it's because it's Burnley and it doesn't suit him. I don't believe those things. He's on the bench. He could play half an hour. He could play 45 minutes. He could play a full game. I think maybe Donny's had a word with Rangnick and said he wants to leave in January. I don't know whether that's a fact, but you know it doesn't look good. But to those people who say, well, you know, he must be crap in training and that's why he's not playing, I can tell you for a fact he's not crap in training. I mean, we've even had Luke Shaw say it publicly. He's not crap in training. He's one of the better players in training. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's a good player in training. And to those people who say, well, he doesn't fit the team, like, I can't be doing with these fans who are just flip-flops, who just change their opinion based on every single day. Donny van de Beek came on in that Watford game in the second half. Ronaldo should have had a hat-trick. We should have won that game. Donny van de Beek set him up 2 times, slid him in from McTominay's position, and also scored a goal. Look, we were crap in that game and we got stuffed, but, you know, there was an opportunity in the first 20 minutes of the second half when Donny came on for McTominay, where Ronaldo had 2 good chances, and if he'd scored them, I don't think we would have lost, and Ollie would still be in the game. So you should be thankful to Ronaldo. But Donny was brilliant in that game, in a Premier League game, away from home, when we were getting stuffed. So I always see something in a Donny van de Beek performance. I think he doesn't get the games he deserves, and I always see something in him. And I would not be surprised if and when he leaves Manchester United, he becomes a good player again. But for whatever reason, it's not worked. And if you want me to tell you why I think it's not worked, I just don't think his personality fits in with that squad. And that squad is full of big personalities and little cliques who really don't have authority at all because they've won sod all. And I just don't think Donny van de Beek fits in to the Manchester United culture. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. If we analyse United with our head and not our heart, there is no way we will finish 4th. More importantly, isn't this what happened to Arsenal aiming for 4th, says Mark? Well, I want to talk about that in a bit, Mark, because there's so much to talk about. People saying Donny ain't good enough to play for United. When has he had a run of games under Ollie and Ralph to show that he's good enough, says Salah. And just to mention about Ronaldo rushing down the tunnel at full time, my understanding is so he can start his recovery ice bath ASAP, says Joshua Bowwater. Well, these idiots going on about Ronaldo are idiots. You know, Ronaldo is one of the greatest players that's ever played, and I don't know why he's getting criticism for going down the tunnel to have an ice bath. But no, you know, Salah makes a good point as well. You know, Donny van de Beek's never been given a run in the team. Now, Scott McTominay was fantastic last night. No agenda, he was. How many games in a row has he played badly to get to that performance? And I think that's where people get frustrated. It's like, you can say that Eric Bay's not good enough. You can say that Delot's not good enough. Telles isn't good enough. Donny's not good enough. They're players that never really get given a chance. But then Maguire, Rashford, McTominay, Bruno, they play game after game after game after game. And then you get a performance from McTominay last night that was fantastic. But how many bad performances have we had and let go to get to that point? And does that not make you think, actually, how good was he last night? Was it just that he wasn't crap? You know, how good was that performance? Was that Jorginho performance? Was that a Jordan Henderson performance? Was that a De Bruyne performance? How good was it to them? Or was it just the fact that he was good and he's been crap for so long? And also it's one game. And also if you gave Donny those games, would he play crap that long and for one good performance? And I think that's a very good point that Salah makes, is that some people play so... I mean, Harry Maguire will have a worldie at some point because he plays every week. But look, that's not taking anything away from McTominay. He was very good last night. We need to see that every single week. And apparently Ralph Rangnick rung him up on his birthday to say happy birthday. So again, he's another player that's valued by another Manchester United manager. So he's doing something right. Donny van de Beek is valued as much as Juan Mata is valued, says Mark. Yeah, okay. Well, look, let's see what happens with Donny van de Beek. To summarise, he's not happy with the situation. He wants out of the situation at Manchester United. It's whether United are going to let him out of that situation in January, really. But he has not settled at Manchester United, and he's not happy at Manchester United. It's as simple as that. Cavani. Just quickly on Cavani before I talk about Rangnick's transfer update, which he gave after the game yesterday. Now, Cavani yesterday sort of did three stadium tours, 3 parts of the stadium, walking around at the end of the game, clapping and waving, and some people have taken this as a goodbye. Now, Cavani has been heavily linked with leaving Manchester United, but Manchester United do not want Cavani to leave. Do I think that Cavani was waving goodbye? No, I don't think he was waving goodbye. You know why I think that's a non-story? because we're playing Wolves on Monday at Old Trafford. He's not going to leave on January the 1st, I don't think. I don't think we're going to get a story tomorrow that he's going because the transfer window opens tomorrow. So I just think that's Cavani being appreciative to the crowd. I don't think there's anything in that. So if anybody does, carry that on, and maybe you'll be right, but I don't see anything like in relation to that. And I did actually mention it on the phone call this morning, and they were like, "Well, look, Man United are desperate to keep Cavani, so how's he going to force himself out of a contract?" So Cavani probably does want to go, but I don't think it'll happen. Why do we have no trophy cliques when really Donny has the best mentality because he just gets his head down and works hard to get other players? Other players get picked, says JJ. Look, we've all been in the office, we've all been in work environments, and we all know people who are, good at their job but don't get appreciated because they just get their head down and do their job. We also know people who get over promoted because they're loud and vocal and one of the lads or one of the girls or one of the team, And I just think Donny van der Beek suffers because he gets swallowed up by the more vocal people in the dressing room who maybe aren't better than him, but they come across as more energetic maybe. If we analyse United with our head and not, we've done that from Mark. And why do we have? Okay, we've done that one. So I want to talk about Ralf Rangnick as well after the game. Have you got any news on Icardi? Says LJ. Got nothing on Icardi. I know he was linked to us, but I can't see that happening. I think United would avoid Icardi like anything. So. A Zero Blade says you just can't dislike Cavani. I don't think Cavani played particularly well yesterday, but it was interesting in the replies to my match reaction how people were telling me about his movement and this, that and the other, which is not in doubt, but I just don't think I think he had a quiet game yesterday. And I think if Ronaldo put that performance in, people would have given him a bit of shit. I'm not saying we should give Cavani a bit of shit, but I thought he was quiet yesterday. But I'd pick him every day of the week up front with Ronaldo over Rashford at the moment, who I don't think we missed at all last night. So the challenge there is for Rashford to improve, isn't it? And he didn't even come on for a minute, did he? Which was interesting. So Rangnick spoke about the transfer window. Now this is interesting. What size is that hoodie and how tall are you? I'm 6 foot and it's a medium. Roop. Ralf Rangnick spoke about transfers after the game yesterday. This is really important update because you can read it one of two ways. The transfer window opens tomorrow. We are desperate for a midfielder. We saw yesterday that Matic is the only CDM that we've got and he can't play that much football. Any truth in Paul Mitchell rejecting us for director of football? Don't know, Julian. I've not read anything about that. So basically, Rangnick has come out and said that they've not discussed January transfers yet, and the only value in a January transfer window is if it increases the quality of what you've got, and we have enough players. Now, this is really interesting because I'd sort of bring this into my feeling today after United's last two games. I thought against Newcastle we were terrible, not breaking news, and I thought last night we were very patchy. At no point did I feel like we dominated any area of the pitch. I thought there were some good performances, but I don't think we were ever, I don't think Burnley were ever really under the cosh. We won the game, we deserved to win the game, and look, I've seen Liverpool win games like that, so I'm not going to criticise the performance or the result, and especially 3 days after Newcastle, there was a big improvement, but I don't think we were that good yesterday, and I do worry about, we've just played the 3 bottom teams in a row, Norwich, Newcastle and Burnley, 3 bottom teams by a long way. They are the 3 worst teams at the moment in the league, and we've not really put any of them to the sword massively, so there's massive improvement. I'm worried about top 4. I don't really want to say this, but this is the end of the year and tomorrow's a day to be full of the joys of 2022. I'm worried about top 4. I am. I look at that team and I think too many teams get a chance against us. Too many teams have a 50-50 game with us. And I was a little bit worried about where Man United are, to be honest, even before the Burnley game. So I was very happy with the win, but I think we're miles off from being a team that's going to go to Anfield in a couple of months or the Etihad and give them any problems. I think we are really, really in a situation where top 4 is vulnerable, which leads into what Rangnick said about this transfer window. We've got enough players and, we've not spoken about the January transfer window and, you only get somebody that's better than what you've got. If he hasn't said as part of his fucking interview, I need a midfielder in January, that's majorly concerning. And I'm massively behind Randy because, I think he's a genius and I think he's moulded so many managers over his career, especially over the last decade with like Klopps and Tuchels. But I'm a little bit worried about what Rangnick's end game is at Manchester United. And what I say by that is that there are enough... There are conspiracy theories, I'll put them out there. There is enough conspiracy to be concerned about what I'm going to say. Is Ralf Rangnick trying so hard to get this job full-time that he's doing the board's bidding? And what I mean by that is Manchester United desperately need a midfielder in January. If he's saying I'll get by with what I've got, why would he do that? Why would he do that? Is it, I can get top four with what we've got, give me the job, you don't need to spend money? Which is just not what we want. We don't want another manager like the previous one who's like, I'll do whatever you want, board, just give me the job. We need a midfielder in January to have a chance of top four. And if we don't get one, I'm very worried about what's going to happen for the rest of this season. If Rangnick is seriously saying, I don't need anyone in January, then he has not come into this job and done what a proper manager would do, which is say, this squad needs massive amounts of work. If he's going to fall into the mistake of other managers of going, I've got a great set of lads with great potential, I don't believe that. I don't think we've got a great set of lads with great potential. I think we've got some players who are very good and some players that will continually let you down. That squad needs breaking up. We know some players want to leave and we know we need some players in. If we're going to gamble on this squad to get us top four, I'm worried. But obviously, if Rangnick wants the job full time, how do you impress this board? You twerk for them. Oh, I don't need anyone. You don't need to spend any money on me until the summer. I'll do it with the previous manager's squad. So that worries me a little bit. I'm absolutely convinced we're going to get a midfielder in January though. So let's wait and see what happens with that. Why have I got this concern that Rangnick might go, I don't need anybody? Well, one, because I think he's already said he wants the job full time. And if he doesn't spend money, the board will love him even more. And that'll be another, if he doesn't spend any money in January, the board will be like, he's the man, give him the job. The second reason I'm a little bit worried, and I don't want to go on about this too much because I went on it massively yesterday, is I don't understand why any manager would take this job on and then accept Darren Fletcher being in your technical area. I just don't get it. I do not get it. Imagine if Conte had gone to Spurs and some ex-player there, I don't know, I can't think of any ex-Spurs players. You can have the job, but he's got to be in the technical director with you because we're going to mould him. We've just done this for 3 years. We've just spent, well actually it was 5 years because Carrick was under Mourinho. We've spent 5 years trying to mould an ex-player who used to play for us in our midfield into the next manager of the club. And we're already doing it again under the next interim. So I am a little bit worried about how much influence the club is still having over Ralf Rangnick, because I am still seeing things that make me think, oh, he's talking about not spending in January. He's got Darren Fletcher in his technical area. We're still picking certain players and not calling them out when they're making mistakes. I'm not really into conspiracy theories, but I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit worried that Rangnick might be twerking for the job full time. And to do that, you've got to hook yourself up and get yourself on the strings of the board. I really hope he's not going to do that. They should be hooking themselves to Rangnick and playing his tune because he's rebuilt football clubs. But I'm a little bit concerned about it because we should be bending over backwards to bring a midfielder in January. So let's wait and see what happens. I found out yesterday I was being cheated on since November in a relationship that was a year long. As a community, you make me smile in tough times, says MMA. Oh, very personal message, but we are all here for you, mate. Mark Perella says, United want Ralph to come in, shake things up, drop Maguire, McFred, etc. Yet we're in the same situation. What's happening behind the scenes? Nothing makes sense, says Mark. And Rory says, what role does Fletcher have at United? Last time I checked, he was technical director. Why have the club not clarified his position with us? Technical directors don't stand on the touchline. Just on that, Rory, I had a message from somebody who actually sits very close to the technical director, close to the dugout, as people call it. But you could see it on the telly a couple of times. And they said to me, you could see it. I was watching it a lot because I'm watching the game and I'm watching that. And effectively, Darren Fletcher's applauding players and putting thumbs up. At the same time, Ralf Rangnick's going, no, don't do that. It's like, it was almost comical at times how they were contradicting. And I think some of you were pointing it out. You could see it on the TV as well, that Fletcher's going like this and Rangnick's actually barking a different order. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there. Darren Fletcher could be the next Sir Alex Ferguson, in which case you want him in and around the club to do well. But where's his CV? Alvarez, let me talk to you about Alvarez. I mean, I wouldn't sleep on Alvarez, this River Plate Argentinian young 20s sort of striker. I wouldn't sleep on this. You know what? The more I think about it, and I do think it's a bit like Casido a couple of years ago, because we're heavily linked to him. Apparently his agent flies in tomorrow. Or on the 2nd. He's going to go to Munich. He's going to go to Manchester, London. He's going to speak to a lot of clubs. People have got to play his release clause. This could be totally agent talk, and I would always lean towards this is just Alvarez's agents, using Manchester United, and that's probably your default position. I suppose where you'd probably go, there might be something in this, is that it's the sort of signing that Rangnick would make, an up-and-coming first contract player who's hungry. And Martial wasn't even on the bench yesterday. Anthony Martial's leaving. Simple as that. He's going to leave. If Donny's leaving as well and Cavani wants to leave, then surely you've got to bring a striker in because you've only got Ronaldo, Greenwood and Rashford. So maybe there is something in it. But I do think it's probably just agent talk in relation to that. All failed managers had United DNA in the coaching team. Neville, Moyes, Giggs, LVG, Carrick, Jose, Carrick, Ollie. Sticking to past ain't helping. I don't know why we do it, Pratamish, but the club's obsessed with it. It's almost like, we've all probably been in this situation where you're wrong, but you just keep doing it because you want to be proved right. I saw a tweet last night. I don't agree with it, but it was something along the lines of, I'm not celebrating McTominay's performance tonight. He's been shit so long. It's just an exercise in keep playing him until he plays a good game. And I think it's a bit unfair. He played really well last night. It was Burnley. It did suit him. It wasn't a very technical game, I agree, but he did play well last night. Give him the credit. But it almost seems to be the United way. Just keep doing the same thing until you get something good out of it. And we do seem very hell-bent on and obsessed about having somebody who used to play for the club involved. I don't like Darren Fletcher in that technical area. Some of you do. I don't understand it. I think it's undermining the manager. And he's got no CV either. He's got absolutely no CV. We plucked him out of Stoke. He's probably done his coaching badges, and now he's training with the team. He's in photos with the team. He's in the technical area. I mean, I almost expect him to start doing the press conferences. It's just I don't get it, and you don't really get any clarity at all from Manchester United on that. So I don't really know what to say about that. But I think that where United are at the moment is that I think that Wolves game's really interesting, where we're going to go next, and we've got to keep winning. We're not in a very strong position. That 2 points we dropped to Newcastle really has put the advantage with Arsenal and Spurs, and I know Arsenal are playing Man City tomorrow, and we could do with Man City beating them, which I think they will, but we've still got to play Man City ourselves, so I'm not getting too excited about it. I'm thinking what we really need to see is, I think one of the big things I'd say from last night is change. We need to see change, and I watched that game yesterday, obviously with you lot, and I haven't watched it again yet, which I will do at some point, but it felt patchy. It didn't feel fluid. It still felt to me, and it felt like they were strangers. It still didn't feel like everybody was in sync. I thought Shaw and Sancho linked up well. I don't think Ronaldo and Cavani looked comfortable. I don't think Greenwood looked comfortable with Ronaldo and Cavani. I think that McTominay and Matic were detached from the front. Obviously, McTominay made a lot of runs to the edge of the box and got shots off, but I don't feel that there was a lot of link-up between Matic and McTominay with the front four as well. It felt quite patchy. Now, you're going to get that, but are we going to play like that against Wolves? I don't think you can play a 4-2-4 against Wolves, because I think you'll get dominated in the midfield. So I think Bruno will come straight back into that team, and we'll probably go back to the 4-2-2-2 narrow again. I think you just got to take you've got to take the points and hope that we build. But the big area for me to build at the moment, and I might surprise a few people here, is we need somebody in that midfield that is just Fabinho. Like, that's what we need. We need a player like that in the Matic position. Because Matic did well last night, but it's Burnley. They're slow. They're physical. When you're playing a Liverpool or a Leicester or a Spurs, you've got to have a bit more about you in that midfield. We need an energetic CDM. And I'll be stunned if we don't buy one, because Matic is the only one we've got. He's the only one we've got. We saw yesterday that McTominay's best asset is getting to the edge of the box, and not our edge of the box. We've seen that with Fred, with Brazil. He's actually a better box-to-box player, and we've been using Fred and McTominay out of position. That's the headline. We've spent a year using Fred and McTominay out of position, and for all the shit they've got, and they've had a lot of shit thrown their way because they have been shit, they've clearly been being played out of position. And You know, Harry Maguire's not out of position. He's playing in his position and he's playing badly and he deserves to be criticised. But maybe Fred and McTominay have been lambs to the slaughter in a certain way because they're out of position. They're not holding midfielders and they've struggled. And yet we see McTominay given the freedom to get to the edge of the box, which we've spoken about before, even a year ago. I like it when McTominay moves past Bruno. And Fred, I think, is proving he's better as a box-to-box player as well. We desperately need a holding midfielder. And when the only holding midfielder you've... And look, Pogba's not a holding midfielder either, and neither's Donny. So all of our midfielders are box-to-box players. Well, you need at least 2 specialist holding midfielders. The only holding midfielder we've got in the entire squad is Nemanja Matic, who's basically got one foot in a saga holiday, which is holidays for the retirement. So... we need a holding midfielder. And that goes back to what Rangnick was talking about last night about we've got a good squad. If he's happy to sit back and say, I don't need anyone in January, and he doesn't get the job in May, he's got himself to blame. I don't want to see another manager twerking for this board, trying to do the virtually impossible with a squad that hasn't got a holding midfielder just because you want the job. We need to keep our eyes open on that board. We can't have another manager who's twerking for the board. Oh, I don't need any money spending. Maybe he's already signed that. You know, maybe when he took the interim job, they said to him, you've got no money in January. And maybe he went, yeah, that's fine. Maybe that was part of the deal. We'll find out over the next 4 weeks. But I'm telling you now, Conte's come in and said, we need to sign players at Spurs. Manchester United need to sign players. If we don't sign players in January, then you've got to ask why that manager signs this contract. Is he that desperate to get the Man United job that he won't actually be honest and say you need to do this? And that's really worrying if he's going to become a technical advisor himself or a sporting director or a consultant. He should be coming in with the home truths. And we'll have to wait and see. I'm convinced we'll get a midfielder, but you know, keep your eye on that, because if we don't buy anyone in January, that's another manager who's basically letting the board get away with it and not calling them out. But maybe he's that desperate to get the job, we'll see. But look, what I will say about Rangnick is I'm 100% behind him. I like him. I think he's the right CV for the job technically, and I think yesterday against Burnley, it wasn't the Rangnick way, it was the way to beat Burnley way. And he said that before the game. We're just going to fight them the way that they fight and and hope that our quality is superior. And it was. It was a patchy game, but because we had the better players, we won the game. And I was very happy with that. I've saved the best till last. Sir Alex Ferguson, happy birthday. Absolute legend. I just want to say a few words because Sir Alex Ferguson may not like fan channels. Probably doesn't. But whether he likes it or not, the influence that he's had on me personally is just immeasurable. I was a young kid when he took over, very, very young kid when he took over Manchester United. In fact, I don't really remember his first 2 or 3 years, if I'm honest. But he moulded me in a footballing sense. Him and my granddad are the 2 biggest influences. I've never met Sir Alex Ferguson. Obviously, my granddad brought me up. But Sir Alex Ferguson's interviews, his touchline reactions, his management style has moulded what I am today. I am very determined, aggressive, criticise and passionate. And Sir Alex Ferguson was all those things. I always say it to these people who you get out there who just seem to have this snowflake mentality of you can't criticise your players, get behind the team. I'm like, when did you start supporting United then? When David Moyes rolled into town? Sir Alex Ferguson was the most aggressive, passionate, focused, determined, second place is the first loser mentality I've ever seen. And he influences so many of us. And when I'm saying a player's not good enough to wear that shirt, it's because I know what is. Because I was taught by Sir Alex Ferguson. The man is a living legend, and I hope he has a fantastic birthday. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Subscribe, bottom right hand corner. We're heading into New Year's Eve, so Happy New Year. I will be live again at 8 o'clock tonight with you, and obviously we'll be live if anything happens in the afternoon. I'm not expecting it. It's a bit like Christmas here, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, but we've got content for you. Obviously we're playing Wolves on Monday. I've just got to get a track of the days, so Saturday tomorrow, isn't it? So we'll have a preview coming up for you as well, probably tomorrow, some live content, lots to get through. And also there's Premier League football tomorrow. Man City are playing Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool on Sunday, so lots to keep you entertained. point. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I've got no idea if there's a Rangnick press conference. I would suspect he's done it after the game yesterday and it will get released tomorrow or Sunday lunchtime. I don't think we'll get a proper live press conference again now until back end of next week for the FA Cup game. But I imagine he's already done it. But look, lots to discuss. Fantastic show this morning. Take care. I'll speak to you all in a bit.